Hey everyone, my name is Clark Merritt, and I'm excited to get to share with you a little bit about what I do. My full time job is managing a men's retail clothing store in Charleston, South Carolina on King Street. And then my side hustle job is being the co founder and, I guess, for lack of a better title, creative director of a brand called Hammer Goods, which is a headwear brand. So just a little bit of background on my life and how I got into this business. I grew up in the company called OOBE. OOBE started as a small outdoor company when I was about 1 years old, is when it started selling hats and t-shirts. And now if you get on oobebrand.com, you can kind of see more of what we do. So that's OOBE brand.com. We have one flagship store in Charleston, which is what I manage, and then we also sell online. So you can get online and see a little bit about what we do. So I kind of already had a background in apparel just because I grew up around it. For about 10 years, OOBE existed in the outdoor world, outdoor clothing, selling in small outdoor shops like Half Moon Outfitters, if you're familiar with that in Greenville, up and down the East Coast. And about 3 years ago, we launched a brand called OOBE Brand, and it's a little different. It's a little more, it's a higher price point, a little more highly crafted, kind of a high-end men's casual brand that's classic American apparel, classic American menswear. And so that is what I do on a day-to-day basis. I manage that store. We have a staff of 5 people, a couple full-time people. I went to Clemson and got into this business. I didn't technically have to have a college degree to get into the world that I'm in now, but it certainly did bring a little bit of notoriety that allowed me to get in there and help. I got to Charleston because I had a sales role, and then my dad and the people who were managing OOBE Brand reached out to me to help manage the store, which is what we do. Which is what I do now on a day-to-day basis, which is a kind of combination of a few different things. I would say that I'm more on the creative yet strategic end, which is fun because in this role I get to interact with people all day, so it's a highly relational role. Also, it's somewhat creative in that there's an interior design aspect to what we do, and then also kind of an operational side as well. So I really like that there is a mixture of different things in running retail. The biggest downside is having to work some weekends. But the nice part about what I'm doing currently in the apparel industry, in running a retail store, is really just learning more and more details about what apparel looks like, which allowed me to, last year with a buddy of mine, start a company called Hammer Goods. Hammer Goods is a brand that really is, the goal behind Hammer is to storytell. We want to tell stories about people that we really find encouraging. Either they're doing something special about the way they live, or they just have a cool story to tell, whether that's a talent or something like that. We also just love hats. I've always loved headwear. That's why I look as casual as I do now. This is a Hammer hat. You can see that's kind of a similar, or it gives you a good idea as to what our kind of vibe is. But yeah, so I would say, like, one of our mantras is mountain to sea. And I say all this, we're still a very small brand, still really kind of grassroots at this point in our lifespan as a company. We've got a few different styles, and it's growing a lot, but it's cool for me getting to work in apparel every day from a bigger company around people who have done it over and over again and have been doing it for 25 to 50 years, where I get the experience in my normal job, that is the job that pays the bills for me and my wife and my son. And then I get to have a creative outlet, which is Hammer Goods. I really don't know where Hammer's going to go or how big it's going to be. Obviously, I think everyone would have aspirations as to um, where you could take something like that. But for me right now, it's just been really a creative outlet, a space to, without spending a lot of money, learn and figure out really along the way what works, what doesn't, and kind of dabble in the industry. Whether it's a brand that we kind of work on long term or kind of nurture and sell and then later do something else, it's at least something that so far has been really fruitful in giving me some really great experience. So, kind of how does that tie into what I would say to you as somebody who's in high school and maybe trying to figure out what they're going to do with their life? I finished high school, did not know what I wanted to do. I knew that starting things was interesting to me. Went to Clemson, got an economic degree, which is great in that it teaches you how to think, but not great in that it is not very specific and doesn't provide a specific skill set for you. So I'd like to leave you with a couple different thoughts. One, figure out something that you really love to do and chase it. For me, I have had to get over the hump of at the beginning of Hammer, I wanted it to be the biggest brand. I wanted to grow this thing. I put way too much weight on it from the beginning. Um, but now, kind of hindsight 2020, I get to look and see, okay, I've learned this about running my own business. I've learned this about design. I've learned this about sourcing fabrics and um, what it looks like to communicate internationally for manufacturing. And so put yourself in a position where you get to learn, even if that's not taking the job that makes the most money from the beginning, but puts you under the leadership of somebody that you trust and you would like your life to emulate so that you can learn from them and how they got where they got. I think a lot of the ways that we position ourselves from the get go either allows or disallows our opportunities down the road. So that would be one of my suggestions or encouragements to you as you're trying to figure out what it is you want to do with your life. Um, I think the cool thing about technology and where we are now is that you don't have to have one career and you can always switch. And I think you get out of high school or get out of tech school or university or wherever you go, and kind of the world is your oyster. You don't have this track that you have been on for your life previously. You can really go any direction. And so, my suggestion or my advice would be put yourself in a position to learn as much as you can on the front end. And then the only other thing that I would say is figure out what you want to do or what you think you'd like to do. Be open to God changing the direction in your life of where that may end up because He may have a different plan for you than what you think in your own head it should be. Set a lowered expectation of what your lifestyle is going to be able to be like from the beginning. And then also recognize and understand and be okay with the fact that whatever you want to do may not be college. I think at the end of high school, myself, all my friends and myself just said, okay, where are you going to go? Where's the best school? And nowadays, there are so many different education options after high school, whether that's the military or a tech school or a career school or a 4-year degree or master's or doctorate. There's so many different levels now of education where I would say getting experience for me is would be the number one thing that really sets you on a trajectory to be successful more than just having a this degree in your pocket. I've had 4 jobs up to this point in my life, and I can't say that any of them were directly better or that I got because I have a degree from Clemson. So figure out what you want to do and just make small steps along the way to get there.